Well, welcome to our second installment on our 1998 Jeep Cherokee. Still haven't quite decided what we're going to do with it, but at any rate, it can't hurt to put a little bit of exterior cosmetic effort into this thing to try to get it looking a little better and, just feeling a little better, because no matter what we decide to do with it, it won't hurt it to look a little better. So we got some wheels and tires we're going to put on here. We got some cosmetic exterior things we're going to do to this thing, and hopefully we'll get it looking and feeling a little bit better. Not perfect, but a little bit better. So come along for the ride here as we kind of do some exterior reconditioning on this thing before we actually decide what to do with it. First things first, in the last video we had a miscellaneous hose here that we didn't know where it went or what it did. I traced it back, finally got the nerve to crawl under the spider-laden infested Jeep, and that was this hose here that I have tied up. And that's because, near as I can figure, it is the evap canister vent that for some reason comes all the way up to the front of the vehicle. Both the other lines from the fuel tank and then to the service port and the duty purge solenoid over there, they all appear to be correct and hooked up, and the one from the purge solenoid goes to the intake, that's correct, and the other one goes back to the fuel tank, and that's correct. And of course the fuel tank is connected to the evap canister, so the only thing I can figure is this is a giant vent. So we're just gonna leave her tied up there out of the way. I don't actually, maybe it's supposed to be hidden down there where you can't see it. I've been looking at a lot of Jeep engine compartments lately, Jeep XJ, and I can't actually see that in any of the pictures, so I don't know, I'm just going to leave it tied up there. I mean, it is just a vent, so it'll be fine. I wish I had a vent cap for the end, but I don't. It'll be fine. It was fine before, it'll be fine now. It only goes to the evap canister anyway, and we don't care about emissions, do we? Not really, not in a vehicle this old. Unless it's throwing a code or something, and we'll figure it out. So just figured I'd resolve that for anyone who is remotely curious, even though probably anybody watching this already knows what it is and what it's for and was laughing at me the whole time, but that's what it is. Well, we went on a junkyard excursion and got some parts. We got a full front header assembly that's not cracked up like this one is. I don't know if I showed it in detail, but there's this metal bumper here that they put on as the clearances are too tight, which we'll work on that. I like the idea of having a nice solid off-road bumper on this thing. Even if I'm gonna sell it, it's something you can weld shackles on it or something. I got a replacement for the front header section. We got the rear sections for each side here. I'll need painted, but just like the header section isn't the same color. And we got a radio. I don't know if it works. We got a spare tire and a spare tire cover because they were there and not terribly expensive. Which brings us to the hatch. Unfortunately, this one, we thought this one initially was okay, but it's not. It's got some damage here that we're gonna have to resolve. Got a little bit of a flare there. So what we have to do here, is because the wiring, there and in there's the line for the washer fluid for the rear window. We gotta pull all the wiring back out of this hatch and pull it back out of here, and then we can take the hatch off. You got to pull the wiring back beforehand, obviously, because if you try to take the hatch off, the wiring's still going to be held in place. So we're going to take that off and pull that back, and then we can just swap the hatches out. And I'm going to wait to do the body work until it's all on and try to pull those dents out and so forth. So, without further ado, let's get into that. I'm going to pull the trim surround off here. I'm going to have to do this with the other one, unfortunately, although the other one comes complete with trim and everything, because you still got to feed the wires back in, you know, so all that's got to come off. What I'm going to do now is pull the clips off of the struts. I have the hatch being held up with a ladder, and then I'm going to undo these hinge bolts here. Now that's all taken out. So now as we lift the hatch, we'll just feed those wires out and then we'll be free. Doesn't appear to be a junction for this down in there or anything, so you got to refeed this all through, which is fine. We'll take care of that. I guess we'll leave the wiring on the new hatch and feed the wiper line, I guess. So basically what we did is we took off the old hatch, pulled this back through it, which you saw, pulled these wires back through, and then we just took the cover off the new hatch, pulled the old wires that I had cut out, so we're left with this connector, and of course I had cut this line, so this is going to go completely, this is the one from the original Jeep, so we're going to feed these back through and run the connector again, and then I already fed this up through, and we're just going to replace this boot here, and then all you have to do basically is just snap these back into position, except for that one. Just did not want to come out the first time. There we go. Just feed like that, and then it just snips in. This is what they do at the did at the factory when they put it in, essentially, and then run it down here and find your thing here and run them up here and connect them, and then you'll have your washer pump, assuming that everything in the Jeep works. But if it doesn't, we've got, you know, 16 and a half spares around here these days. So all right, so that's your washer line. And then for the electrical, just have to, it's a little bit, electrical's a little bit more fun because you got to feed these plugs up through here. Just try not to damage anything. Get your boots seated. One of these is for the third brake light, but I don't remember which. You know, because of course I don't. Of course, the third brake light we can connect whenever we see fit. So this one's going to go there. This is the round pins. Go there. This one go there. Feed that back in there. Find my screws here. Okay, so now if you stand back, admire our handiwork. So now this is bolted in, and I tried to bolt the hinges in roughly where the old one was, but we're gonna double check that now. Check our body panel gap here, which a little bit more over here. As you can see, this is a little sticking out a little, and it gets wider as it goes down. So that means this hinge is kicked out a little far. What we're gonna do, loosen that here. There. Okay, try this again. You're a rat. No. Latch knot. Now the latch isn't aligned, which means, oh, now we're too far out on this side. Doesn't take much to throw it off.
7 hours later.
I think that might do it. Yeah, that's about right. We'll pop the third brake light in so it'll be waterproof. Well, now that we got the glass in the back waterproofed, we can give her an old rinse down and see what we're in for the body. I mean, we already know a little bit what we're in for. And I'm not going to try to make this perfect. I'm going to try to make it decent. You know, because even perfect is not worth a fortune, so there's no point. So obviously we got a little bit of rust here that I didn't know was there because we pulled this panel off since we were going to replace that anyway. We've got this dent. Probably when we start spraying it, we'll see other things. Obviously this is broken, but we're going to replace this. I did notice this piece up under here is broken. I have another piece on the green one. I don't know if they're the same in these models. I hope they are, because I think that one might be intact. But we are going to, oh, where's that go? That's not really a good thing, is it? It looks like that goes somewhere important. Oh, I don't know, it still runs. Okay, so basically what we're gonna do here is we're gonna take the pressure washer and, yeah, it needs it bad. Let's get to it. Well, there she is, kind of shined up. At least she's got all the muck blown off her. Yeah, the body isn't too bad. There's some scuff marks from something there and something there that, you know, would buff out if I felt like buffing this thing. I think it's going to look a lot better with the actual Jeep wheels and tires on the back, even if they are Grand Cherokee wheels. These things are just so dang close to the fenders. It doesn't look good, and it's not going to ride good, I don't think. I mean, if you cared about riding a XJ. Oh, you shush. So we do have to replace this front fascia because this is all smashed up, and there's some damage to this actual surround. So we're going to replace that whole unit with the one we got. Could take that bumper off, probably lower it a little bit so it doesn't smash up into the fascia, or put the actual Jeep bumper on it. I don't know. I have spent about all the money that I'm willing to spend on this, so the rest is going to be time and straighten some things out and maybe bondo a few holes. These are non-critical holes in the rockers and things. It's never going to be worth a lot, and I don't have a lot of time to mess with it. The inside we're going to gut and clean. I did spray one of the doors quick, but that's not gonna, we're gonna like completely disassemble the interior. It's just not completely, but mostly it's bad. She's been sitting so long, and kind of the black mold is starting. I don't know, the sunroof, it doesn't leak, but you know, I don't know. Someone put a lot of caulk or RTV or something up there. It doesn't look the best, but I guess if it doesn't leak, you know, it is what it is. I'm certainly not gonna make it factory perfect again. This pressure washing was mainly to blast off as much as we could of the ingrained stuff and get a look at what we're working at before we continue with the outside. Anyway, there she is, pressure washed and ready for the next step. All right, so we're gonna zip the front of this thing on and put our junkyard front on this. I don't know how well you can see it, but she's a little busted up. Before we put the new front on, I'm going to deal with this bumper. It can't go back in this same configuration because it'll just bust the new grille up. So at any rate, we're going to zip this off and see where we're at. Oh, so there's the front off. Say what you want about Jeep XJs, but you know, when it comes to working on them, it's really not that bad. You know, you can zip the whole front end off and zip the fenders off of these things just so quick, you know. And when you want to work on the front or the engine, the radiator and this top radiator brace pulls out real easy here. And you can access, you know, if you want to pull the engine out, you can just zip it right out the front of the vehicle, just about. Anywho, yeah, looking at this bumper, so it looks like it's held on by 2 bolts on each side, and oh, this one was just kind of dangling in there. Not sure what I'm gonna do here. The way it's mounted, it's kind of tilted back a little bit. Not sure that I'm too keen on that. I don't know that I can really move it down very easily. They used the factory brackets and welded this plate on, looks like. Much as I like a big heavy steel bumper in the front, it looks weird and exposes, like, you know, the horn here and everything, which I don't really feel like moving. I'd like to leave that. And then there's this vacuum canister that hooks up inside the piece there that is just kind of dangling. So I don't know what I'm gonna do here quite yet. Let's figure it out. It's better. you know, it's a Jeep. Sure. Well, I pulled the front pieces out of the other Jeep. This one is just terribly beaten in. If you're familiar with those, yeah, they can be reshaped, but it is just a pain in the butt. So I probably won't be doing that. So, finish taking this metal piece off. Oh, someone joyfully reshaped the center of that already. I don't know if you can see how bowed out it is. Fantastic. Well, let's check out what we got here. Guess I can't really shift this bumper down. I suppose I could do some cutting out across the top here for the front. I might do that. Looks like they kind of made that kick angle in intentional. The way the whole front of the bracket is kind of cut that way. Why are you falling over on me? Why can't you stand up? Looks like the best option is to basically trim the top of this so that it doesn't, you know, intrude on the fender space anymore. So basically, I'm gonna one of these. About a second, yep. And I'll just come right across the front there. So that's basically what we're going to take out. And when that's snug and tight, well, not this one, but when the new one is snug and tight, we should have a nice half-inch gap. Yeah, so we'll just take that curve out of there. Alright, got that cut off. This is rough. We'll clean this up with a grinder before we, you know, finish it off. Let's check and make sure. Yep. We should have plenty of room there. Watch your feet. I'm going to take my grinder and clean this up just a hair. Alright, I'm going to take this and I'm just going to start removing the rust. So I brushed it down. Not great, but enough to get a little bit of paint to stick anyway. You know, we just need a hair, just a tiny bit. Knocked some of the unevenness out. Not all of it, you know, just enough. So now I'm gonna, I don't know, spritz it with a quick coat of some throwaway paint, because I don't really care about this. It just, you know, it'll look a lot nicer if it's not rusty. For the undercoat, the first coat, looks like the flavor of the day is, I don't know, whatever gold color this is. Alright. Oh, used up 2 cans of paint instead of throwing away, so that's good. Let that dry and I'm gonna flip her over and do the front in some black I have laying around. And if we have any black left over, we'll wait till that dries, flip her back over, and I don't know, I got some of this 20-year-old trunk splatter paint. And I got some of this Rust-Oleum black hammered. I don't know, I got some engine paint around here somewhere too. I'd like to use that stuff, but might save that for the front, make it all decorative, you know. Alright, got some black on there. You know, it's gonna be mostly hidden, but you'll be able to see it if you look down through this crack, you know, real close. So might as well have it kinda, you know, match. So wait for this to dry, flip it over, and put some black on the front. Let's pop this bumper back on. All right, tighten these screws down and we can get to putting the front back on. Before I put everything together, I'm gonna hook up the battery temporarily, check the headlights, make sure I don't have to replace any bulbs, you know, because it's easier now. Well, there's the new front end. The hood does close. I just, you know, there. Yeah, you know, all the body panels are intact now. Oh, you know, except for the factory side panels there, and it won't break the grill front again because I trimmed it out, so that's all we were going for there. And well, that bumper's black, so it's not just quite the eyesore that it was, but you know, from more of a practical standpoint, if you want a heavy bumper, that's the way to do it. Okay, get the 4-foot bar out. Oh, it's really in there, my goodness. I don't know. How much do I have to do here to... Some of that might be covered up. Yeah, actually, a good portion of that will be covered up, so I don't think I have to worry about it more than that. Put that bolt where I'm sure to lose it. That little screw there. Take that out. Hopefully this frame here isn't too bent up, because those go around these tabs. I don't know. I have to rebend that a little bit, but we'll find out. Yeah, I think that'll work. Not too bad. There we go. Oh, it's gonna be good enough for government work. Covers up the big rust hole, sure. We gotta fix this as well. Going down. There we go. Got it. It could be a lot better, but that's as good as that's gonna get. Oh, it's kind of like Jacob, the Jeep of many colors now. You know, we got this dark blue, this light blue, this red, and we're gonna kind of have a different blue on the front. Still got to pull this dent out. Probably gonna use a slide hammer or something to yank that out. So I gotta do this side yet. Of course, you know, found my screwdriver. It's in my back pocket. About this, when in doubt, use a wood screw business. Alright, so sometimes these tabs can get pushed in and people try to snap it in. It makes it worse. You got to have the tab snapped out just enough to get the plastic down in. One thing I don't like about XJs are these stupid plastic surround pieces, and the later ones. Man, I hate those things. This one is unpainted. It's just raw plastic, so even more colors. Okay, that part is done. Next we got a yellow T on there. Okay, so all the back pieces are on now. We just gotta, you know, make it look a lot nicer, because, you know, right now it looks pretty beat up. But all the pieces are there and intact. And we got rear glass, so that's a good thing. All right, as much as this pains me, I'm gonna drill some holes in there, and then I'll try to pull these out with my slide hammer. For all you body guys, body people out there, you know, I'm sure I'm doing it wrong, but I don't really care, because, you know, a little Bondo fixes everything, right? So I got a good bit of this out. It's just, I'd like to get this out down here, and then I don't mind Bondoing this. Maybe get this out here. I don't want a big ridge there around the tail light. You know, I've had this slide hammer for years and years. I never actually used it for body work before. This Jeep is never going to be beautiful again, but get this lip here bent up just a hair where it's smashed in there. Hard to do that with a slide hammer. It'll be all right. That'll give us an edge to follow when we come up here with the 18 pounds of Bondo. Let's see if we can just get that out just a tweak more. Of course, I don't want to hammer just too hard on this hatch and ruin my glass. That's, you know, the whole reason we're replacing this. So I'm going to throw some quick body work at this thing. It actually looks worse on camera than it is. I pulled out the dents with a slide hammer, and, you know, so what you see on camera is, well, I mean, there's not a lot there. So we're going to do it the right way and throw 18.5 pounds of Bondo at this and call it a day. I drilled with the slide hammer, and there was already some surface rust and creases, and I'm just going to wire brush this whole area and, you know, slap some body work on there. Let's go. Poor man's bodywork approved. Again, I didn't do a fantastic job there because I didn't want to take off the Jeep lettering and have to put it back on, and this isn't that kind of Jeep. And, you know, if you look down here, you can see she's already wrinkled, and, you know, I'm not even going to worry about taking those out. There's some others you've seen, but yeah, you know, there's just not a gaping smash in the hatch anymore, and that was my goal. I've just taken it to the point where, you know, with a minimum of effort, threw the same thing on the rusty rockers, you know, with yet another color of paint it doesn't have yet. Same over here on these rockers. Again, you know, not perfect, but we're going for usable, you know. And does it look good from 30 feet away, like somebody hasn't driven it into the side of a barn? You know, that's what we're looking for. All right, let's throw some tires at this thing. done. You know, sometimes when I'm making stupid jokes like this, I wonder if my girlfriend's gonna come home and wonder what's going on and think I'm absolutely nuts. Oh, wait, she already knows I'm nuts. One of the things I recommend if you're gonna be doing tires yourself, which isn't a great idea to begin with, because I don't know where my balancer is. I gotta find one or buy one, I don't know. Anywho, you got one of these Harbor Freight tire changers like I do, which they work, they require some effort. Put it on a nice steel dock plate or something like I got here, and that way it doesn't want to, you know, move you all over the place, and it is still portable. I can pick this thing up barely, but you know, I can move it if need be. You know, since I'm in my shop right now, I can put it anywhere in the shop that I want. But yeah, let's throw some wheels and tires together. I got these Cooper tires. They're Discovery AT3s or something, HT3s, I don't know. Anywho, I got these a long time ago, and I've kept them inside out of UV light and everything. I don't know, they still got the barcode on them, for crying out loud. Anywho, I bought these for a work truck I had years ago, and well, you know, I put $600 worth of tires and mounting and balancing and everything on the truck, and well, then the engine blew up, so I sold the thing for scrap and decided to keep my $600 tires, and up to this point I haven't had a vehicle I needed to use them on yet. Of course, now that I'm doing this, it just struck me that these would fit on my Suburban, and here I am putting them on this ratty old Jeep. But, well, I don't know. So there she is with her new baloney skins. Looks pretty good. I do have the center caps for all these wheels. I just haven't put them on yet because I think I'm gonna have to take these off again to balance them. So, I mean, once I find a balancer. But I think these will work. They have just a little bit more clearance in the wheel wells than the old tires. I bounce it here. I don't think she's gonna hit. Springs are already sagging a little bit. It would look more normal if the springs were, you know, new, but anybody who's familiar with these things knows that the springs have a tendency to wear out pretty quick. But you know, it actually looks pretty level front to back, and you know, tires and wheels match now, so that's something. And they are practically brand new. So for now, that's all I'm gonna do to the outside. Maybe if I have money, we'll rattle can some, you know, of these colors, at least just to make it, you know, all reddish. We'll see. Not gonna break the bank on it, but it's actually starting to look pretty nice, at least in my head. I want to give a shout out to Daniel G, who noticed and commented that this parts Jeep has lift shackles in the rear. I didn't really go over this with a fine-tooth comb, and this is great. This is why when people comment, you know, I do actually read the comments, but I'm gonna pull those shackles off and put them on the good Jeep, because they're, you know, if you're familiar with XJs, you know they squat too much in the back when the leaf springs start to sag like this. And you know, instead of doing it the right way and replacing relief springs, we'll just, you know, move those shackles over. So we're gonna take these drop shackles off. I don't know if these are something somebody made, or I don't think so, because they have extra holes drilled in them for different heights and stuff. So I'm gonna take these off the green Jeep here and move them over to the Jeep, the good Jeep. As anybody knows, this is always fun because you're turning rusty bolts, and especially down here in the south where we are, the sand gets in everything when you let it sit. And yeah, that should just be just a grand old time. So let's get started. So we got the shackles off the green Jeep. I don't know if these are a kit or if these are something somebody made, but they appear to be a kit because they're drilled fairly evenly. One of them was a little twisted up. I reshaped it on my anvil. It's still a little, you know, but that doesn't really matter for what we're doing. You know, this is really thick steel, so it should be fine. They are adjustable apparently. Only one of the 4 bolts survived, but that's fine. I have lots of grade 8 hardware. The other one, the bolts into the Jeep were so rusty that the upper 2 bolts and nuts just completely, I mean, they were just rusted into nothingness. I just basically cut them out of the under frame of the Jeep, if you saw that on the video. So they're basically gone, but hopefully I can salvage the bolts from this Jeep. The red Jeep appears to, I'll show you in a minute here, it appears to just have the factory maybe 2-inch shackles on it, you know, not these just steel bars. So yeah, let's take a look at the other Jeep. Going under here, hopefully the light's good enough. You can see there's just kind of the standard shackles here, or what I assume to be standard anyway. My plan is just drop down from these factory shackles, because these are the bolts on the other Jeep that shredded, and they were just rusted into nothingness. And you know, I'd rather not take those bolts out if I don't have to. Hopefully we'll be able to just tweak the exhaust out of the way here to drop it down. There's a nice shield between the gas tank and the exhaust, so if it moves a little bit. See, we got the standard coat hanger exhaust. I'm not sure why they put that in, because this appears to be, oh no, it's not intact. Where is it? Yeah, it is. That's all intact. I'm not sure what the coat hanger is for. Moral support? I don't know. Hopefully these are good enough that I can get these off. I can't get an impact in here because it's too close to the gas tank, and over here I don't have a deep well 21mm socket, and yeah, so we're gonna try to get these off by hand. I don't know, we'll see how that goes. If it doesn't work, then I'll try to finagle something with maybe find a smaller impact than what I have, or something that'll fit in there. All right, let's get to it. So surprisingly, managed to get this one loose without breaking my arm. So what we've done here is we've jacked the frame of the Jeep up separate from the axle to decompress the leaf spring, because if you try to take that off with the leaf spring compressed, it's gonna, you know, want to compress more, so it's gonna snap up into the vehicle. Looks like we've got a little weeping from the pumpkin there. I don't know if you can see that. Giant zip tie around the axle, probably holding on a brake line or something. It's fine. Everything is fine. All right, see if we can continue to remove this bolt. All right, there's one side. I don't know if I'm gonna cut off the extra shackle or not. I'd have to use that if we didn't have the factory shackle still installed. That gave us a nice bump in height here. It's not on the jack right now. It's, even when I rock it, it doesn't even come close like it used to. So yeah, that's more than fine for my purposes. I have a surprise for this thing. I cleaned out the back a little bit, pulled some stuff out. I'll show that on a future video, but found a trailer hitch for this thing, brand new with all the hardware and everything. At least I think it's for this thing. It was inside it, so I think we're gonna put it on, and if need be, we can use this thing for towing. It's got some room for squat now in the rear, so we can put a couple 100 pounds on a hitch in the back if we need to. Or if we choose to sell it, then they'll have a trailer hitch, but it doesn't have any wiring or anything, so, you know, that's always fun, but not too hard unless you're gonna put in brakes. All right, let's move to the other side. This side's still squatting. That's how she was. And that's how she's gonna be. I'm pleased with that. These shackles are not the best thing in the world. They're, well, here, let me show you. You might have figured this out already, but there's no bushing up here. So you don't want to tighten this too far or you'll compress the two frame pieces together. And of course, the alignment on these shackles isn't right. Whether you put them on the inside or the outside, they're either going to be splayed or they're going to be in too far. So there's really no way to win there. Maybe at one point they were bent and they got straightened, or maybe I've straightened them too much. I don't know. They'll work. You know, the bolts are in and tight and everything's held together. That's the important thing. If we drive this thing a good bit, we'll check it after we put some mileage on it. Let's do the other side. Well, that'll about wrap up this episode. We got the exterior kind of where we want her temporarily. You know, she's operable in this condition, and she doesn't have a giant hole in the back window anymore. And sunroof, you notice there's a tarp on it. Sunroof does leak. I found out, unfortunately, we had some like heavy monsoon rains for days, and she collected a little bit of water. So that's gonna have to be addressed from the inside when we do the headliner and rip all that apart. So we're just gonna keep her tarped for now, when it's raining or when it's gonna rain. We kind of got all the exterior stance and frame stuff where we want it. Next round of work we're gonna do on this thing, got lots of mechanical stuff. We got the water pump. We got to replace that. I did order a water pump. We got to put that in. We got all the fluids and service and all that to change. You know, we didn't actually test the four-wheel drive on this thing yet. You know, it could be shot, but I got a spare transfer case if there's something wrong with it. I got at least one spare drive shaft in the other Jeep. We are going to do the interior, but we're going to do that down the road. I want to get it running and driving first, or like running and driving where I can actually, you know, run it and drive it without worrying about these multi-year-old fluids in this thing. We definitely want to try to get the check engine light off. I didn't put a scanner on it. It runs fine, but it's throwing check engine codes, so we'll figure out what that is and hopefully manage to resolve that as part of our mechanical overhaul the next run. There's, I think, a few other little, mechanical details that are probably have to redo the seals on the axles when we replace the fluid, because I see the back pumpkin is weeping, and goodness only knows when the axle fluid was changed, because that's not something that people do regularly. We're going to fully service the transmission. We're going to change the oil finally and the filter and all that. Obviously, we haven't been driving it or anything, so don't worry. Mainly because of the water pump and, these ancient fluids that are in here. So next episode is going to be all the operational stuff on this thing to get her into a shape, that I would be comfortable using it as a daily driver. So she's looking good. If you stuck with us this far, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. I wouldn't even be doing this if it wouldn't be for people who actually might want to watch this and, watch my struggles and watch me do stupid things. So thank you for watching and making this possible. If you want to, feel free to like, subscribe. We really appreciate it. I'm rambling now, so we're going to wrap this up for now, and we'll see you next time when we do all the mechanical stuff on this Jeep. Thanks for watching.